Hey everybody, welcome back to our channel. We are finally completing the planting and the trellising for our raspberry and blackberry bushes. So stick around, hang out with us and see how we plant them and how we set up our trellising.
All right, so before we jump into planting the blackberries and the raspberries, I do briefly want to go over our plan as it has changed a little bit since we did the last video of the row layout. Now, when we did the row layouts, we planned on planting the first 3 rows closest to the fence line to my right. We have since changed that plan due to some succession planting that we thought of a little bit later on. So what I mean by that is we planned on starting at the bottom of the hill and planting down there first so that those berry bushes would get the tallest first, and then we would take cuttings from those and then continuously plant as we went uphill. That way the tallest bushes would always be downhill and get the most sun, not shade out whatever we were transplanting. Now we've changed our plan a little bit and we've decided to go ahead and bring the blueberry bushes that we already planted back up here. So we have 4 cuttings from the 12 blueberry bushes we had down at the house already in the ground. So these are good to go, and this is right up against the fence line. After that, we are going to be skipping this row right here, and then we're going to be planting blackberries right here, right in the middle. And the plan is to later on be able to take cuttings from the blackberries and expand into this row or to that row over here, depending if we want more blueberries or more blackberries or even more raspberries. So as you can see, instead of planting blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, we've allowed ourselves a little bit of room for expansion. So we have 4 red raspberries and 4 blackberries we need to get in the ground today. We are going to be taking cuttings from these and expanding as we need, but these plants have been in our fridge for a couple days and they really need to get in the ground, so let's get planting.
The raspberries we chose are called Caroline. They are thornless, they're self-pollinating, and they're supposed to do really well in this southern climate with the humidity and the clay-like soil. So let's get those raspberries out of the bucket and into the ground. Going to be putting up trellising, so let's go a couple feet from where the post for the trellising will be, and we'll dig this out. We're going to plant them about 3 to 4 feet apart, but I'm thinking 4 would be ideal for us. They have to be about 6 inches under the soil. See, this one already has some buds coming off of it. It's trying to grow.
That's usually what color it is.
Save the worms! Okay. There you go, buddy. Mix that in. We've mixed in our compost and now we're planting. This one has 2 canes coming off of it, so I'm just gonna kind of position them where they were naturally growing and leave the roots going where direction they were growing. The way they wanted to go. There, now push this dirt back up on them. Raspberries are in the ground. We planted them 4 feet apart, 6 inches deep, and now we're moving on to the blackberries. These blackberries are called Triple Crown, and they are the biggest, juiciest blackberries that I've ever seen, so I can't wait. We're gonna be planting these 4 feet apart, 6 inches deep, just like the red raspberries, and they're gonna end up having the same trellising, so we'll work on that a little bit later.
While Gabrielle is planting the blackberries, I went down the house and grabbed our 10-pound bag of white clover that we have going in this berry pasture. Now, if you watch the row layout video, you'll see that we planted fescue. The fescue has started coming up, but we want to add a little bit of white clover, a little bit of variety in the field, and get something to pop up a little bit quicker than the fescue is coming along. That way we don't get any more soil erosion than what we're already getting up here.
Got a leaf on him. Oh, that looks like enough. Now that the blackberries are all planted, we gave them a light watering, but not too much because it's supposed to rain tonight. But there's two things left that we need to do for these. We need to mulch them, and we need to build trellising for our raspberry and blackberries. So we're gonna go and get the materials we need to build that trellising. It's gonna be a couple days for us, but for you, it'll go by just like that.
All right guys, so we finally have the red raspberries all trellised up. Now we did change our plan a little bit. We were going to be using wooden posts, 4x4s that were set in the ground on each end, and then use T-post or the U-post in the middle. But we had plenty of these U-posts on hand, and after further consideration and with how wet the ground has been lately, we decided not to bring in the tractor and the post hole digger and go through all that mess. We were just gonna end up rutting up this field. So we used these T-posts. We used a couple of the 2-foot T-posts down here as anchors for our 1/8 inch aircraft cable that we purchased off of Amazon. So as you can see, we are running 3 strands on each of the raspberries and the blackberries. So we're going to be showing you exactly how to set all these T-posts, exactly how to run the cable and pull tension with these turnbuckles that we picked up. So let's get to work. We're going to start setting up the blackberries. As you can see, we already mulched the blackberries and raspberries. Now we mixed a little bit of sawdust and leaves for the mulch. This post right here is exactly where the first U-post is going to go, and we're going to set 5 U-posts every 12 feet for this row. So let's get this first U-post set in the ground right where the stake is, and we'll start measuring out every 12 feet and get the rest of the posts in the ground. All right, so we have all 5 of our U-posts in the ground. Now what we have are 2 2-foot long U-posts that we're going to be using as anchors for the cable on each end of the row, and that way when we pull tension on the aircraft cable, we don't pull the end posts right in on each other. So let's get these set in the ground. All right, so now we have our end anchors in the ground and all 5 of our U-posts in the ground. We need to get our stainless steel eye bolts and position those in the holes of these U-posts right where we want them at our heights. Okay, so we're gonna be using these stainless steel eye bolts we picked up at Lowe's. These are 1/4 inch with 1/4 thread on them. They come with 1 hex nut already installed, so you need another one, and we picked up a box of 50 stainless steel 1/4 hex nuts to go along with our eye bolts. We're going to be installing the bottom row 12 inches up off the ground, and we're installing these eye bolts into holes that are prefabricated into these U-posts. So we're going to install this eye bolt horizontal with the ground so we can pull tension on the aircraft cable going this way. Now every 18 inches up the U-post, we're going to be installing one of these eye bolts. The middle one is going to be at a slight angle so we can tie a anchor cable from the middle eye bolt down to our ground anchor down here. So let's go ahead and install all the eye bolts on our U-post, and then we can start installing the aircraft cable. All right, so the next step is to go ahead and anchor our post to the anchor point in the ground right here. We're going to be tying from the center eye bolt down to this eye bolt on the anchor down here, and we're going to be using our aircraft cable to do so. So the key thing to remember here is that this anchor cable needs to have a little bit of tension on it. So we're going to pre-tension this cable by applying pressure this way onto the post, crimp the ends of this cable in place, and then relieve tension off of this post. And it's important to pre-tension this wire because if you don't, when you start applying tension to your bottom, your middle, and your top aircraft cable running from post to post, you're going to end up pulling in this U-post right here. So you need to add a little bit of pre-tension onto this U-post right here. That way everything comes out nice and straight in the end. Now the spool of cable that we got off of Amazon comes with cable wraps and crimps. So we're going to install the cable through the eye bolt, and then we're going to go ahead and run the cable right through this crimp. So we're going to loop this back and go back through our crimp, like so. We're going to install our cable wrap over the eye bolt and go ahead to begin to pull the slack on out. Okay, so we have our cable wrap installed, we have our crimp installed, and we've slid the crimp up against the cable wrap, taking out all the slack. So I try to leave as little material here as possible, that way we don't waste any of this cable, because we're going to be awfully close with how much cable we have left at the end. So the only thing left to do here is get our crimpers and go ahead and crimp this part. Okay, so now we're ready to install the top strand of aircraft cable. So what we have here is a turnbuckle with one open end to go around the eye bolt, and then the other end right here is where we're going to be crimping on the aircraft cable. So what we're going to do is just leave this hanging for now. We're going to run our aircraft cable down this way. We will then run the aircraft cable down through all these eye bolts on the top of the post. It is not crimped or secured to these at all. These are just meant to be a support. Once we have all the aircraft cable threaded through these eye bolts, we will then crimp it to the end post to which the anchor is also tied in. So let's go ahead, we'll pull the aircraft cable through all of our loops, crimp it at this end, and go ahead and pull the slack out this way and tie it into our turnbuckle. Now we have good tension on this cable. I'm going to go ahead and clip the little excess that we have right here, and then what we can do is turn the turnbuckle and pull the tension that we want on this wire. Now you don't want to pull too much tension on this wire if you're using this system, otherwise these U-posts are going to start to twist and then you're not going to get yourself anywhere. So let's go ahead and tension this wire a little bit, and then we'll run the bottom string. One thing I do want to mention is that you do want to start with these turnbuckles completely extended. That way you have maximum travel to tension up your cable. So let's go ahead, we'll hook this on for where we want to cut this cable, right about there. Yep. Now we can go ahead and start applying tension to this. Now what you need to do is stop the cable from spinning, so I use a screwdriver. Just go ahead and hold on to your screwdriver and just start turning your turnbuckle until you get the tension on the wire right where you want it. All right, so we have good tension on the top and the bottom wire. Now there's one more step to do, and that's go ahead, install the middle wire and apply tension to that.
Well, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found it helpful to see the way that we're doing trellising for our berries. We're really excited to be growing some fruit on our homestead now. As always, if you like this video, hit that like button. It helps us out a lot. And if you don't want to miss any of the fun stuff we have coming up, please subscribe to our channel. But until next time, we hope you have a great day.